Hello and welcome in this lecture. Today we will talking about the food-centric project. The first thing you find after you log in our platform, it's this beautiful dashboard. Here you have some statistic like how much podcasts you have, how much episodes you have, how much recording you have, and how much visits and how much response and how much contact. Here you have some lists of the five last podcasts, some statistic. Also here we have the last recording, and we also have where from our podcast come. For me here, it's coming from Morocco, and this is help you to know the statistic of your podcast and your episode. Let's go to the important thing in this pod centric. It's my podcast. My podcast. Here you can create your podcast. You can see with me here that I have a lot of podcasts. It's published. I publish it here. You From here you can create new podcasts. You can start your new podcast. You can get uh, some information about your podcast, like image, titles, subtitles, some information, it's audio or video, some from where country and language, integration, you have some integration, categories, and the show type, you have some seasons or not, episode number you want or not, you have the owner name, the owner email, all this information. When you add it, you will find like this, like I have here, like this one, and we have a lot of options. We have some statistic, and we can share it, and we can preview it, and also we can edit this podcast, and you have some options here. Let's go first by first. Let's see this podcast. you know Here is how your podcast will be seen from the people. Here we have the recent episode of this podcast. The first thing is the logo of the podcast. We have the name, the episodes, or the order, and the date we publish it. Also, we have the last and the recent episode. This is the recent episode, and here we can apply our episode, and here is how people see our episode.
Walk and act like me and just might be the next.
Like this, and here we can get the response, and the response can be audio or video or text. I want to try with text. You can type something like cool content, and next we have the contact. I can say my name here and my email if I want, and I want to send it, and the response, it's sent it now. You can see it here. We will have it in here in the response. After preview, let's go to option of share it. You can share the podcast with link, same link here, and here we have, you can share it in some other platforms like social media, like Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, Telegram, WhatsApp, and more social media platforms. Here we have the statistic. Let's see that. You know, we have the episode. I have three. I have four response, and I have 15 visitor and some contact. And we have here the response: one audio, one video, and two text. And we can get traffic by country. The all the visits is from Morocco. All the visits. Okay, now let's back to the podcast, and let's go to this option. It's edit. Here you can edit the information we do before. You can change the logo, the name. I don't like it. I want to make it the vegan. Nigeria. Okay, and you can have subtitle, and you see this change it automatically. And I wanna change the owner name. I wanna make my name, and I wanna do the copyright. It's for the vegan Nigeria. After seeing the edit option for the podcast, we have here some amazing options. Here we have the RSS and distribution, and the cool thing, how I can how I can explain this, is how you can distribute your podcast. You can choose a lot of platforms like Apple Podcast, Spotify, Google Podcast, Amazon Music, Amazon Music, Pandora, Stitcher, Radio Public, and here we give you a link of XML RSS for your podcast, and here you can generate the XML RSS. You can generate it, and here for me, I want to add my podcast to Spotify. I will start registration, and we have here the steps. You will forward to do that. We start registration. You will need to log in. You retouch Spotify terms and condition and click continue. You need to pass your undefined RSS URL. This link, you will pass it, and also you will verify that you own this podcast. Spotify will send a verification code to email associated with this podcast. Enter the code and click next, and confirm your show details and click submit. The review process can take up to 24 hours. One approved into Spotify podcast URL below. This is the steps you will need to add your podcast to these platforms like Spotify. And for each platform, we give you the steps you will need and the URL you will need to to add your podcast to these platforms. Also, we can back to see another options. We have the episodes. Each podcast have one or more episodes. For me here, I have three, and you can have one, two, three, and more and more. Here I have four. Here I have zero, one. Here you have the number of episodes you have, and also we have the response. The response of our visitor on our podcast. I have a lot. I have the response, the title of podcast, the title, episode, and the name of person who responds, and his email, and the date when he responds, and the tip of response. And when I click it, I can see it. Like my response, it was cool content, and it's here, and the episode is five. And here you have episode 5, 1, 2, and who do that, and you have the audio. You can get to audio, you can listen to, and you can also get the video. Also we have design. You can change the design of how your podcast or how your preview will be showing. For me, I have this, but you can change it dynamically with our website. You can change the basic color. You can change to like this. You can change the color one. You can change the icon styles. You can change the episode style. You can change also the player style. And when I talk about the player style, I talk about this. You can update that, and also you can change the footer page. Now we have here, I want to make it black. Just for try. Update this, we have the preview now, we have this black. And if we go here in the preview, we will get the footer is black. Also, we have Another amazing option is the setting we have for each podcast. You know, the statue is published or not, and if your podcast is not published, you can schedule for a date. You know, for me, I want every podcast, or to be published in one day and in 1 hour. I will do that, and it will be published it automatically. Okay, and let's keep it immediately. And we have here the link of XML RSS to use it in another platforms, and here you can share it in your uh, social media. Okay, let's back to the last option. It's you can delete this podcast if you don't like it anymore. We have a lot amazing another option like automation, episodes, response, recording, and this 105 podcast. We will talk in the second part. Thank you for listening.